What's up, guys? It's your girl, I am Jerrica Marie, and I'm back with another video. Yes, y'all, I'm super excited about today's video because I think it's something that's going to really help some ladies and even some males who may have gone through it as well. So I'm super excited. So to my fam, welcome back, fam. Thank you guys so much for being so faithful. Make sure that you like this video, you comment, and you share with someone who you think would really benefit from watching this video. And to my new watchers, what's up, y'all? Listen, you're here. You might as well join the fam. It's lit here, and that's on Mary Had a Little Lamb. So listen, make sure that you subscribe, like this video, comment, and share it with someone that you may think will benefit from this video as well. So listen, today's video is going to be really serious. Well, I'm going to try to keep it as light as possible, but it is a serious topic that I think a lot of people have gone through but don't really know what steps to take towards healing and don't know what steps to take towards forgiveness. So today we're going to be talking about my experiences with sexual assault, especially being that I was sexually assaulted by a family member. So I'm going to talk about my journey, my experiences, how I feel, all that good stuff. So listen, without further ado, guess what, y'all? Let's get started. Hey guys, so judging by the title, you clicked on this video for one of two reasons. Either you have experienced sexual assault and you're trying to start your journey towards healing, or you know someone who has experienced sexual assault and you're trying to figure out ways in which you can help them or even to spot the signs. So if you're looking to spot the signs or trying to look for more generalized information, I do suggest that you contact your local police department, mental health agencies, even women's abuse agencies, domestic violence agencies, so that they can give you more generalized information. Because in this video, I'm really going to be sharing my experiences and how I dealt with that, which may not work for everybody. So I want to ensure that you leave here with a wealth of information that could really benefit you or benefit the people who you're trying to assist. So I was sexually assaulted. I do not specifically remember what exact age I was, but I do remember I was in elementary school. So I was probably between the ages of 5 and 8. It happened over a span of time with a break in between from what I can remember. Now, I'm going to be very honest with you. I do not remember much about the act. I believe my mind probably has blocked that out. I just remember kind of the surrounding of it, like the surrounding actions and different things like that, and even just the experiences of when it stopped and I actually said something, just kind of what happened. So I was sexually assaulted by a family member, and thank God I am so far removed from anger and all of those different emotions towards that family member. I love them deeply with the love of Christ, and that is something that I can say only by the grace of God. But one thing that I kind of realized in my adult life was I am not the only person in my family to experience that. And it is something like a family curse or something. A lot of the women in my family have experienced that without putting too much information on who. Just a lot of women in my family have experienced sexual assault in some shape, form, or manner. And a lot of those experiences had to do with family members. And growing up, I was brought up in the traditional African American family. And I kind of want to just stop here and kind of digress for just a second. I want to say this publicly. This video is in no way, shape, form, or fashion a mission to defame anybody or to belittle anyone or to what's the word I'm looking for? I can't really get my words together right now, but this video is really just to share my experiences and my journey. This has nothing to do with, you know, the person who did this to me. It has nothing to do with them and everything to do with my feelings and my emotions. Okay, so I just want to go ahead and put that out there. But So growing up, I grew up in the traditional black family, and you know the motto of the black family is what happens in this house, what stays in this house. Absolutely. And so, you know, I remember being a kid that was often really sick. I spent a lot of time in the hospital, in and out of hospitals. And so, you know, being in school, I would constantly be pulled out of school. And my mother was very active in, and still is, in education, specifically with the Board of Education where I lived. So when I got out of school, and at this particular phase, I was going to a private school in the area. But when I got out of school, my mom was still at work, so I would go to my grandmother's house. And how my grandmother's house is set up is that it's on a plot of land, and there are 3 houses there. It's my grandmother's home, my great grandmother's home, and then my great aunt's home. They all live literally probably like 50 feet, like it's like 50 feet in between, if that. So it was all really close. Now my grandmother was blind. She went blind from having diabetes. But I would go to her house after school so that she could keep me until my mom got off of work. And one of my cousins was staying with her at the time. And I remember one day, and like I said, my memory is really foggy about it. I know it happened, he knows it happens, but I really believe that my mind just kind of refuses to let me go back to that place. But I remember one evening after school, he asked me if I wanted to play a game. And so if you know anything about me, I'm an only child, and I'm super playful anyway. Like even now, like I'm super playful. Of course I wanted to play a game. Well, this game was a little bit different, and involved some things that it shouldn't have. But again, I was a little girl, and I really looked up to this particular cousin. I do remember that. And like I said, I do not remember the act. But the craziest thing is, from time to time, I would get triggered by a certain cologne. It's this certain cologne. It's this particular cologne, and I have no idea what the name of it is. But like a guy would walk past me, and it's like I go back to that room. Like I could see that room. Like I can tell you where everything is. It's like I go back to that space. So this went on for a little while, and again, my cousin was young as well. From my understanding, from what I can remember, I think he was like in school too, like high school, middle school, something like that. So he was young as well. But from what I can remember, it happened over a span of time. I told my mother, and she addressed it, and it stopped. But then it continued, right, at a later point. And I felt in the moment that I kept it to myself for a long time. So I didn't really say much about it. I didn't say anything about it very often. It was years later, being a little girl, I remember my mom, my dad, and me, we were all watching TV, and it was a sex scene. And I can remember it like it was yesterday. It was a sex scene on the TV. And I'm not gonna go into too much detail. And I remember saying, such and such did that to me. And I remember my dad, like, he was in a recliner. So he was like reclined. And I remember him sitting up. And he said, what? And I said, such and such did that to me. And it was like, I was a little girl. So like, I didn't know how to explain what happened. I just knew that what I was saying was what I experienced. And my dad was like, what? I remember him yelling, and he said, Jerrica, what? I said, and I said it a third time, such and such did that to me. He did what they're doing on TV. And y'all, my father flipped the script like it was really bad. Like I was so scared. It was just really bad. And it just turned into a completely different situation. It turned into a completely different situation, you know, rightfully so, because a father is definitely going to be protective of his child. And so it just got really bad. But I was more scared than anything else. I felt in that moment that I did something wrong. by saying something. And so after that moment, I didn't really talk about it anymore. I didn't really talk about the feelings that I was having after that, right? Because my mom makes she says a certain thing about sex or any sex related activity. She's always said this: once you scratch that itch, right, it's hard to stop scratching it. So as a kid, even after that, I was having certain urges, right? I was having certain desires, not desires, but it was just certain things that was happening in my body, and I didn't really know how to communicate that. And I was scared to communicate that because, when I said something, it went completely left. It went bad. So I was just like, well, I did something wrong. I shouldn't say anything. And so it was a span of years. I was just dealing with just curiosity. I was just curious. And I won't say that I was promiscuous, because I know that when you're talking about sexual assault, specifically at a young age, one of two things can happen, right? A woman or a young lady can turn really promiscuous, or they can be really guarded and shut down. So I was kind of the really guarded and shut down portion of it, but then at the same time very curious. Like, I began to be very curious about myself, about everything. I was just curious. I started watching things that I shouldn't have. Oh, my mom's gonna see this. Ooh. Love you, girl. I started watching things that I shouldn't have at an early age, and just exposing myself. Like, I just was exposed to an adult aspect of life that I shouldn't have been exposed to that early. And so I held a lot of resentment towards this individual, and for a long time, we've never even talked about this, and I'm gonna put this on YouTube. Woo! All right, y'all, we getting transparent here. For a long time, I held a little bit of resentment towards my parents. And the reason being is because I felt like I didn't have anybody to talk to. Like, I didn't know, like, we never really had the conversation. We had the birds and the bees conversation later on, but nobody really, from what I can remember, these are my, my recollection from being a kid, which we know that can be weird, okay? But from my recollection, nobody ever asked me like how I felt, like, how mentally, how was I processing, no one ever asked. Like, nobody really sat me down to really kind of explain to me what was happening and kind of really go through it with me. And so, being a kid and being curious, I was trying to figure it out on my own. And again, I had a lot of resentment. It was something like, you don't take this out this house. You kind of, it's just, it is what it is. And it just kind of, I don't know, it did affect me in a way. I remember asking God, like, what's happening? Like, why am I feeling this way? Like, why do I have these certain, like, I don't know, my stomach would start hurting. Y'all know, my stomach would start hurting and all this other stuff. And so it wasn't until years later, when I moved off from college, that really all of those emotions about this event in my life that I had bottled up so tightly, they just really just spilled over. Like, they just spilled over like so bad. And I was really depressed. And my first semester in college, I almost had to drop out. Like, I was almost done because I wasn't going to class. I was barely leaving my house, or I was barely leaving the dorm. When I did leave the dorm, I was either going to choir or I was going to the club. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was just so distracted. I was crying every day, just really sad, acting out, just doing things that I had no business. Still, I wasn't promiscuous. Still, I was not promiscuous. I was still a virgin. I was clink, baby. Clink. But I was having just this war in my mind, just about, I felt like my innocence was snatched away from me. I felt like in some manner it was my fault, specifically from certain comments that were made to me to insinuate like a 6-year-old asked for that. Not the person who did it. The person who did it they didn't say anything to me about that. But certain comments from other individuals were made as though a 6-year-old asked for that. And that plays on your mind, because it's just like, I'm already trying to deal with it and nobody's talking to me about it, but you say something foul like that, which kind of, it's just like, I already felt like it was my fault, so now it's like you're pushing blame on me. Like I had to deal with all of that, and it was bad, y'all. I would push away from guys. It was so annoying to me because I don't know, I was just afraid of being taken advantage of. And I had a therapist or counselor in college, because if I did not go to a counselor in college, I was gonna lose my academic scholarship that I had and be kicked out of school. And if y'all knew how low my GPA was that first semester, oh my goodness, it was like, I didn't know a GPA could go that low. It was ridiculous. But anywho, I had a counselor and I told her everything and we really talked about it, and she helped me to kind of filter through my thoughts. And her and I are still really close now, but she helped me to filter my thoughts about it, and she helped me to kind of better understand that this is not your fault. A 6-year-old does not ask for it. A 6-year-old cannot ask for it. A 6-year-old has no inkling. Like a 6-year-old, you cannot. It's not your fault, and it's unfair that blame was placed on you, or individuals made you feel like you were at fault. It's unfair. But let's deal with these emotions. Like let's logically look at them, see if they make sense, and evaluate them. And let's see how we can use this stuff constructively instead of allowing it to destroy you. And that was just so important for me to really kind of address this stuff. A lot of times we are going through certain things in our lives and we are still dealing with it, and we're still being held hostage by it because we refuse to, one, seek help, and 2, actually deal with it. We just believe that if we ignore it, right? If we ignore it, or if we try to mask it with other stuff, it's gonna go away. But it's not. You got to seek some help. And in the African American community, we do not go to therapy. It is important that you go to therapy. I need to go back. Go to therapy. It is important that you get a therapist, that you find someone that you can talk to that can help you filter your thoughts, that can help you filter out these emotions. The pastor can't always do it effectively. You got to go somebody that's licensed. Okay, go to somebody that has been through some education for it. Okay, go talk to somebody and really filter through those thoughts, because you're being held hostage by something that God never intended for you to bear. Period. And I went through a place in my life where I blamed God, and I was just like, how could you allow this to happen to a child? Like, what kind of God is that allowed this to happen to a child? And as I matured and as I grew and as I evaluated those emotions and those things and how I felt, I realized, that although God allowed it to happen, it really turned around for my good. And that sounds so ridiculous to say. It sounds so preposterous to say. It sounds so crazy to say, but it is the truth. God turned that thing around for my good, because if it had not been for me going through that situation, going through the depression, going through anxiety, going through all of those things, I wouldn't be here today to talk to you. I wouldn't be here today to kind of share how I made it over with you that could possibly help you. So, in me dealing with that, I remember it was one time to where I was making progress, right? I was feeling more confident, all of that stuff. Like I was making progress to really releasing and healing from this thing. And I came home. I feel like I flew home. I don't know if it was a funeral or something happened and I had to fly home. But instead of flying directly home, I flew to Jacksonville, Florida, which is about an hour and a half, 2 hours away from where I live. And guess who comes to pick me up from the airport? The person who, did those things to me. And I remember my anxiety went up 1,000%. Like, my heart was beating fast. I was so, clenched up in the vehicle. Like, it was just really bad. And that night, I made the decision that I didn't want to feel like that anymore. Even around this person. Although what they did was foul, I was not going to allow this situation to make me angry, bitter, to make me anything, right? Because although what is done to us is not our fault and not our responsibility to take ownership of, it is the responsibility of someone else. It is our position, and it is our responsibility to take ownership in how we respond. And I made the decision that I didn't want to feel scared anymore. I wanted to feel empowered. I wanted to feel in control. I didn't want to feel like that little girl anymore. I want to feel like the grown woman Jerrica, who is not going to show fear for that, who is not going to have fear for that, but is going to address it head on, right? And say that I've overcome this. I've overcome it. And so maybe a couple months later, him, the person, me, and my mother all sat down and we had a whole conversation. He apologized, and it was a very sincere apology. He told me straight up, like, I don't know why I did it. I really have no recollection of why I did it. I'm deeply sorry and I really apologize. I have children now and I don't want, you know what I'm saying? Like, I can only imagine, and I'm sorry. And it was so deep and so heartfelt. I forgave him, but I had already mentally forgave him before then. Regardless if he apologized or not, I had to mentally forgive him, not for his sake, but for mine. But just to kind of get that affirmation that, you know what I'm saying, just to get that affirmation was just something that really benefited me and really helped me in my journey. And now him and I have the same birthday. We make sure to call each other on, you know, our birthday. And I know y'all are like, girl, what? Yes. When I say I forgave him through and through. Like, I forgave him, period. Cautious, but forgave him. Do you know what I'm saying? You know, we talk occasionally. But it was something that was really important for me to do, to really kind of make sure that I really forgave this person. And since I've done that, I have when I think about it, when I even am around this person, God has really shaped my heart and rearranged my heart in such a way that I have no contempt in my heart at all. Like, at all. Like, this person could stand right here and you wouldn't even know it. Like, there's nothing in my heart that makes me feel anger towards this person or anything like that, because I had to forgive that person for me. Because the things that you don't forgive people over, the things that you harbor anger towards, the things that you know, you're bitter about, those things have power to destroy your peace. And I refuse to let it destroy my peace any longer. So I forgave and let it go. I let it go, like, completely. And it has been such a journey for me. I know I'm trying to condense this down because this video, I don't want it to be super long. But it was a journey. There were good days. There were bad days, right? There were days where I felt like I was making progress and then I had to go back to a couple steps. Like, it was a journey, but the journey was well worth it. So I want to encourage you, if you have been sexually assaulted, if you know someone who has been sexually assaulted, show them this video. If you know someone, if you have been sexually assaulted, I urge you to start the path to forgiveness, not for that person's sake, but for your sake, for your peace, for your mental health, right? For you. You got to let that stuff go for you, not for everybody else. It was foul. It was foul, and it happened. But what are you going to do with it? It happened. Now, what are you going to do with it? Are you going to allow it to destroy you and make you a person that you were never created to be? Or are you going to take it and use it as a building block to help somebody else to overcome? The choice is yours. It is your responsibility. It is your responsibility. So I just want to encourage you guys. This video, I really pray, like, it is really my prayer that it really helps somebody. Black families, we have got to be more open with the things that we are experiencing in our families, to stop the curse, to stop the trend, to stop it in its footsteps. I made the conscious decision that I was going to share my story to stop it. It ends with Jerrica. Period. It ends with me. And that's that on that. So I do encourage you guys to do the same with your family. Have those conversations. Talk to your children. You know, really get a sense of how they're feeling about things, okay? I love you guys. Listen, if you like this video, please hit the like button. To my new watchers, if you enjoyed this video, subscribe to my channel. More videos like this to come. Comment. Let me know how you're feeling. Let me know if it helped you. DM me. Follow me on Instagram. I would love to connect with you guys. I love you guys. Talk to you soon. Bye.